Maya Rodriguez stood at the big window of the space station, watching the alien ships land. The ships moved like dancers in space, their living bodies glowing with bright colors that talked to each other without words. Most humans thought these ships were beautiful. Maya thought they were something she could beat. Still thinking about racing them, Rodriguez? Captain Jake Morrison walked up behind her. His voice had that same sound it always had when he thought Maya was being silly. Maya turned around. Her dark eyes still held the light from the stars outside. Not thinking about it, sir. Planning for it. The captain laughed. Other officers in the room laughed with him. Commander Lisa Park shook her head and smiled in a way that made Maya feel small. Maya, the Zentari have been the fastest people in space for over 300 years. Their ships grow from their own body parts. They are living machines made for speed, and humans, said Chief Engineer Tony Blake, are just smart animals who learned how to tie rockets to metal boxes. Everyone laughed again. The sound hurt Maya's feelings, but she was used to it. For 5 years, ever since the Galaxy Racing Group had said all alien races could join their big race, Maya had been saying that humans should try to. Everyone always said the same thing back to her. They would be nice about it, then laugh at her when they thought she could not hear. The Zentari had won every big race for 300 years. Their ships were alive and could fix themselves while flying. They could also feel where to go without looking at maps. The Kylorian Empire had ships made of crystal that could fly through space without any friction at all. Even the youngest alien race, the Velkari, had flying machines that could dance through rocks in space like leaves in the wind. Then there were humans. Loud, messy, always trying to make up for being weak by building bigger and louder machines. At the Galaxy Racing Group will tell everyone about next year's races next week, Maya said quietly. They are taking requests from people who want to race. Captain Morrison's face got softer. He had known Maya since she was in school. He had watched her be the best student in her class at flying ships and space math. She was really smart, but being smart and actually doing something were very different things. Maya, I think you really want this, and I respect that. But we are talking about races that go through many star systems. Last year's winner went through 17 different solar systems in 6 days. 6 days. Our fastest warships would take 3 weeks. That's only if we use normal engines, Maya said back. The room got quiet. Commander Park raised one eyebrow. What do you mean? Maya had been waiting for this moment. She had practiced this talk in her head many times. She turned on her small computer and made a picture appear in the air in the middle of the room. Everyone, I want to show you Project Wildfire. The picture showed a ship that looked different from any human ship ever built. Most human ships had sharp edges and looked like tools. This ship flowed like liquid metal. It was smaller than a normal fighter ship, made for just one pilot, and had what looked like many different engines running down its back. The idea is simple, Maya said, feeling more sure of herself as she talked about her favorite subject. Instead of trying to compete with living ships or perfect crystal ships, we do what humans do best. We break the rules. Chief Blake leaned forward. As an engineer, he was getting curious, even though he did not believe her. Those engines, they look like ... mixed drives, quantum fusion for raw power, ion push for saving energy, and Maya stopped for a moment to make it more exciting. Test fold space makers for short-range space jumping. Everyone started talking at once. Fold space makers have never been made small enough. The power needed would be impossible. Maya, this is just theory at best. Captain Morrison held up his hand to make everyone be quiet. Explain the fold space part. Maya's heart beat faster. This was her big moment. Instead of trying to go faster than everyone else, we change how far we need to travel. The fold space makers create tiny wormholes. This lets the ship take shortcuts through space-time. It's not faster than light travel. It's smarter than light travel. Commander Park looked at the picture with new interest. The math would be really hard. The computer work needed for real-time space folding would be handled by a human pilot, Maya finished. This is where our supposed weakness becomes our strength. Zentari ships use living feelings to navigate. Kylorian ships follow pre-made crystal patterns. We are the only race crazy enough to try to calculate wormhole navigation in real time while traveling at incredible speeds. The room was quiet now. The laughter was gone and replaced by thoughtful looks. Chief Blake was doing math on his own computer. His face was getting more interested by the minute. The engineering problems would be huge, he said finally, but not impossible. Captain Morrison looked around the room. He could see that everyone was thinking differently now. What would you need? Maya had prepared for this question too. A research building, small team of engineers. Access to the test drive technologies that Earth Command has been making for the next generation of warships. And she stopped, knowing this was the biggest request of all, official backing to enter the Galaxy Racing Group Championship. The captain was quiet for a long time, staring at the picture of the ship. Finally, he spoke. Maya, if you were wrong about this, you will be the joke of not just the Earth Navy, but the entire Galaxy Group. And if I'm right, sir? A small smile appeared at the corner of Morrison's mouth. If you're right, Lieutenant Commander, you'll be making history. Maya felt her heart jump. For the first time since she had started talking about racing aliens, someone was taking her seriously. Someone was giving her a chance. She looked back at the window where the alien ships were still landing. Their graceful movements no longer seemed impossible to match. They seemed like a challenge waiting to be met. The other officers were already starting to talk about technical details, about what would be needed, about how it might actually work. The laughter had stopped completely. Maya smiled. This was just the beginning. She had spent years being laughed at for having impossible dreams. Now she was going to start making those dreams come true. The aliens had been the fastest in space for 300 years. They thought no one could challenge them. They were about to learn that humans do not give up easily, and when humans decide they want something, they find a way to get it. No matter how impossible it seems, Maya's impossible dream was about to become everyone else's reality. 6 months later, Research Station Gamma was buzzing with activity. The place was full of excitement and controlled chaos. What had started as Maya's impossible dream had somehow become Earth's Command's most secret project. The decision to officially support her idea had shocked everyone in the military. Some people called it brilliant innovation. Others called it a huge waste of money and time. Maya stood in the main building area, watching as her dream ship slowly became real. The ship was even more beautiful in real life than it had been as a picture. Its curves caught the work lights and reflected them in ways that made it look almost alive. The strength tests are done, said Dr. Alex Chen, the project's main engineer. Alex was a brilliant engine specialist who had joined the project after reading Maya's first proposal. The outer shell can handle forces up to 15 times normal gravity without bending. What about the fold space makers? Maya asked. That's where things get interesting. Alex turned on a screen that showed the ship's inside systems. Tony's team has made the technology small enough to fit, but it still uses enormous amounts of power. We can keep the fold space working for maybe 30 seconds at a time before we need to recharge. Chief Blake, who had moved to the project, as head of systems, wiped grease from his hands with a cloth. 30 seconds doesn't sound like much, but in a race, 30 seconds of shortcut could mean the difference between winning and losing badly. The project had attracted volunteers from all over the Earth military. Each person brought their own skills to solve different pieces of the puzzle. Lieutenant Sophie Davis, a former test pilot, had joined as backup pilot and systems expert. Commander Ryan Walsh, a space scientist, worked on making the fold space math better. Even civilian workers had asked to join, drawn by how bold the project was. The real challenge, Maya said, looking at the pilot controls they had designed, is going to be the mental work needed. The pilot needs to calculate space fold locations while flying normally, all while being pushed by multiple times normal gravity. Dr. Chen nodded seriously. The test runs have been ... challenging. Was putting it nicely. Of the 12 pilots who had tried the simulator, only 3 had managed to complete even a basic course without either crashing the fake ship or having their brains completely overloaded. The human brain, it turned out, was not very good at calculating 4-dimensional math while experiencing extreme physical stress. "I've been working on some changes to the pilot controls," said Lieutenant Kevin Park, the project's computer systems expert. He was Lisa Park's younger brother and had joined the project partly to prove that his family's first doubts had been wrong. "Instead of making the pilot manually calculate fold locations, what if we pre-program likely fold points and let the pilot choose when to use them?" Maya thought about this. It was a compromise, trading some of the theoretical flexibility of real-time calculation for practical usability. "Show me." Kevin turned on a new test program, this one showing a simple race course through a field of space rocks. Instead of raw math coordinates, the display showed possible fold points as glowing dots along the racing line. "The computer continuously calculates possible folds based on current position and direction," Kevin explained. "The pilot just needs to choose which folds to use and when." "It's more like playing a very complex video game than solving difficult math problems." Maya climbed into the test cockpit. The moment she turned on the system, her world exploded into a symphony of information. Speed, direction, gravity effects, space distortion numbers, energy levels, system status, and threading through it. All the glowing dots that represented her shortcuts through space-time. The first few minutes were overwhelming. Her brain struggled to process the flood of information while her hands worked to control the ship's movement. But slowly, something clicked. The chaos began to turn into patterns. The information streams started to make sense. She used her first fold. Reality bent around her as space compressed. The space rock she had been approaching was suddenly behind her instead of ahead. The feeling was impossible to describe, like being turned inside out and put back together in less than a heartbeat. "Successful fold." Kevin's voice came through. "The communication system. Distance covered, 50,000 kilometers in 0.3 seconds. Energy use within acceptable limits." Maya smiled and used another fold, then another. With each jump, her confidence grew. This was not just possible, it was exciting. When she finally came out of the simulator an hour later, the entire project team was staring at her in amazement. "Maya," Dr. Chen said quietly, "you just completed the Advanced Space Rock Field course in 14 minutes. Our best normal pilot took 47 minutes. Chief Blake was studying the performance data with an expression of wonder. The energy efficiency is incredible. By using smart folds instead of brute force acceleration, you used 60% less power than a normal approach. More importantly," added Commander Walsh, "the math is holding up. The fold space makers are stable. The navigation calculations are accurate, and the ship's structural strength stayed constant throughout." Maya felt a surge of vindication. Months of mockery, doubt, and barely hidden disbelief had led to this moment. Her impossible dream was becoming undeniable reality. "How long until she's ready for actual flight tests?" Maya asked. Tony looked at his project timeline. 2 months for final systems putting together, another month for ground testing. "If everything goes perfectly, we could have her space ready in 12 weeks. "Perfect," Maya said. "The Galaxy Racing Group registration deadline is in 14 weeks. The team looked at each other. They had been so focused on proving the technology worked that they had almost forgotten the final goal, actually competing against the best racers in the galaxy. "Maya," Dr. Chen said carefully, "you realize that even if our ship performs perfectly, you'll be racing against pilots who have been competing for decades. The Zentari champion, Kethver, has won 17 races in a row. The math precision needed for professional racing is extraordinary." Maya's expression hardened with determination. "Then I guess I better start practicing." Over the next few weeks, Maya spent every available hour in the simulator. She ran through course after course, pushing herself and the virtual ship to their limits. Each session taught her something new about the delicate balance between conventional flying and fold space. Manipulation. The ship itself was taking shape around her. Phoenix, as she had privately named it, was becoming more than just metal and electronics. It was becoming an extension of her will. A perfect fusion of human engineering and human determination. Other members of the team were working just as hard. Tony and his engineers were fine-tuning every system, making sure that, when the moment came, nothing would fail. Dr. Chen was running stress tests and safety checks, knowing that one mistake could be fatal. Kevin was programming backup systems and emergency procedures. Everyone knew they were building something special. This was not just a racing ship. It was humanity's first real attempt to compete as equals with alien civilizations that had been perfecting their technologies for centuries. The aliens had laughed at Maya's dream. Soon they would see what human dreams could become when backed by human determination and human ingenuity. Phoenix was almost ready to fly. And when she did, the galaxy was going to learn something new about the species from Earth. They were going to learn that humans do not just dream impossible dreams, they make them come true. The Galaxy Racing Group headquarters on Nexus Station was amazing to see. The building was designed to fit many different types of alien bodies. Its flowing curves and organic shapes could house dozens of different alien species. Maya walked through the registration hall, wearing her Earth Navy uniform. Other racers and spectators stared at her with curiosity. The other racers were exactly what she had expected. Kethfer, the Zentari champion, was a graceful being whose skin patterns changed colors based on his feelings. His ship, the living vessel Cythera, was docked nearby. Its bio-hull pulsed with a rhythm that matched its pilot's heartbeat. The Kylorian Representative Zixtal talked through musical sounds made by her crystal body. Her ship was a geometric masterpiece. Its many-sided hull bent light in patterns that were almost hypnotic to watch. And then there were a dozen other species, each representing centuries of racing tradition and advanced technology. The human, Maya, heard whispered conversations that seemed to follow her everywhere. What is a human doing here? The registration process itself was difficult. Maya had to submit to biological scans, psychological tests, and technical inspections that seemed designed to find reasons to exclude her from the competition. The Galaxy Racing Group had never had a human competitor before. The bureaucracy was struggling to adapt. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, the group official, a tall, insect-like being named Clicktar, spoke through a translation device. Your vessel's engine system is ... unusual. The review board has concerns about the safety of your fold space technology. Maya had prepared for this. All safety rules have been followed. Our fold space makers operate within established limits and include multiple safety systems. The technology has been thoroughly tested, but never in actual racing conditions, Clicktar replied. The review board is concerned about the potential for space distortions to affect other competitors. Behind the safety concerns, Maya could hear the real issue. They did not want her here. The Galaxy Racing Group was an exclusive club, and humans were definitely not members. Sir, Maya said carefully, the group charter specifically states that all thinking species meeting the minimum technology requirements are eligible to compete. Earth has been a member of the Galaxy Group for over 50 years. We meet all stated requirements. Clicktar's compound eyes seemed to study her for a long moment. Finally, he activated his approval stamp. Your registration is accepted, Lieutenant. Commander, welcome to the Void Sprint Championship. The news of Maya's registration sent ripples throughout the galactic racing community. Sports networks across dozens of worlds ran features on the human anomaly. Expert analysis ranged from amused curiosity to outright dismissal. Humans are known for their creativity and determination, said one Zentari racing analyst. But the Void Sprint Championship requires precision and speed that their biology simply cannot support. This appears to be a publicity stunt rather than a serious competitive entry. Maya watched these reports from her quarters on Nexus Station. Each dismissive comment added fuel to the fire of her determination. Lieutenant Davis, who had traveled with her as part of the support team, sat nearby reviewing technical specifications. They have no idea what's coming, Sophie said with a smile. The ship they had brought to Nexus Station was the result of 8 months of intensive development. Officially called the TSV Breakthrough, Maya had privately named her Phoenix. She was sleek, deadly, and represented the absolute cutting edge of human engineering. The first qualifying race was held in the Kepler Nebula, a spectacular region of space where newborn stars painted the cosmos in brilliant colors. The course wound through gravitational anomalies and stellar debris. requiring not just speed, but incredible piloting skill. Maya strapped herself into Phoenix's cockpit. Her hands found the familiar controls. Around her, the ship's systems hummed. With barely contained energy, fold space makers were charged and ready. The quantum fusion engines were running at optimal efficiency. Phoenix, this is race control. You are cleared for launch. Maya engaged the engines and felt the familiar surge of acceleration. Around her, the other racers launched at the same time. Their ships spread out as they approached the nebula's edge. Kethver Cythera moved with organic grace. Its biohull. Adapted to gravitational stresses in real time, the Calorian ship, Prismlight, carved through space with mathematical precision. A dozen other vessels, representing the finest racing technology in the galaxy, streaked toward the nebula. And then there was Phoenix. The human ship that had no business being here. The first checkpoint was a navigation beacon located deep within. A gravitational anomaly caused by a collapsing protostar. The normal approach was to calculate a curved path that used the gravitational field to provide additional acceleration while avoiding the most dangerous distortions. Maya had a different idea. She activated her first fold space jump just as she entered the anomaly's outer edge. Space bent around Phoenix. Suddenly, she was through the most dangerous section, merging on the other side with her speed not just maintained but increased by the gravitational slingshot effect. Phoenix has just ... The race announcer's voice faltered. Phoenix appears to have taken a shortcut through the anomaly. That should have been impossible. The other racers were still navigating the normal route when Maya reached the first checkpoint. She was in first place. The gap was widening, but the race was just beginning. The second part took the competitors through an asteroid field where precise maneuvering was more important than raw speed. This was where Maya's months of simulation training paid off, while the other racers had to slow down to navigate safely between the tumbling rocks. Maya used microfolds to dart between asteroids. She treated the dangerous debris field like a three-dimensional puzzle. By the third checkpoint, she had opened up a lead of nearly 2 minutes. This is unprecedented, the race announcer was saying. The human ship is using some form of spatial manipulation technology that allows it to essentially teleport short distances. The other competitors are struggling to adapt their strategies. Kethver, the veteran Zentari champion, was pushing Cythera harder than he ever had before. His ship's biohull was glowing with stress patterns as it fought to close the gap, but every time he began to catch up, Maya would execute another impossible maneuver. Folding space to maintain her advantage, the final part of the qualifying race was a straight sprint through open space. Raw speed would determine the winner. This was where conventional wisdom said the human ship would fail. Biological and crystalline propulsion systems had proven advantages in sustained high-speed flight. Maya watched her energy levels carefully. She had enough power for maybe 6 more folds, and the finish line was still 200,000 kilometers away. Behind her, she could see the other racers closing the distance. Time for one final gamble. Instead of using her remaining folds for short tactical jumps, Maya programmed a single massive fold that would take her directly to the finish line. It was dangerous, requiring precise calculations that would consume nearly all her remaining power. But if it worked, Phoenix is charging for a major fold, the announcer reported. The energy readings are enormous. She's attempting to jump directly to the finish line. Maya activated the fold. Reality exploded around her as space compressed to an almost impossible degree. The sensation was like being struck by lightning while falling through a black hole. Her vision blurred, her consciousness wavered, but her hands remained steady on the controls. When space snapped back to normal, Phoenix was crossing the finish line in first place. The silence from race control lasted for nearly 30 seconds before the announcer found his voice. Phoenix has won the qualifying race. Pete, the human ship has won the qualifying race with a finishing time that sets a new course record. Maya slumped back in her pilot's seat, exhausted but triumphant. Around the galaxy, millions of beings, who had been watching with amused curiosity, were suddenly paying very serious attention to the human, who had just shattered 3 centuries of racing tradition. The laughter had stopped. The championship race was held in the Vortex sector, a region of space where 3 different star systems created a complex web of gravitational interactions. The course was 27 checkpoints spread across multiple planets, moons, and space stations. Racers would need to navigate not just through empty space, but through atmospheric entry and exit procedures on 4 different worlds. Maya stood in the pre-race briefing, studying the course map with the same intensity she had once brought to military tactical analysis. The other competitors were no longer dismissing her presence. Kethfer nodded respectfully when their eyes met. Zixtal's harmonic greeting carried notes of what her translator indicated was professional admiration. The past month had transformed Maya from curiosity to legitimate threat. She had won 2 more qualifying races, each victory more impressive than the last. The galactic racing media had dubbed her the Fold Witch, a nickname that she had initially resented but was beginning to embrace. More importantly, her success had begun to change how the galaxy viewed humanity itself. Earth's membership in the Galaxy Group had always been somewhat grudging. Humans were seen as a young species with more enthusiasm than actual capability. Now, suddenly, everyone wanted to know more about human technology, human innovation, human potential. The championship course, announced race director Vexenoth. An elderly being whose 4 arms gestured at the holographic display represents the ultimate test of racing skill. Atmospheric racing on Kepler 442b will test your ship's adaptability. The ice caves of Titan 7 will challenge your navigation precision. The plasma storms surrounding Altair Station will push your shielding systems to their limits. Maya studied each segment, already visualizing potential fold points and energy management strategies. The championship race would last approximately 18 hours, requiring not just speed, but endurance, tactical thinking, and the ability to adapt to changing conditions. Additionally, Vexenoth continued, the championship race includes elements specifically designed to prevent the use of spatial manipulation technologies in critical sections. Certain portions of the course will be protected by anti-fold barriers. Maya's heart sank. This was clearly a response to her previous victories, an attempt to level the playing field by neutralizing her primary advantage. After the briefing, Kethfer approached her. His bioluminescent patterns shifted to colors her translator indicated. Were respectful greeting. Maya Rodriguez, he said, his voice carrying the musical tones characteristic of his species. Your victories have been remarkable, but I feel I should warn you. Championship race is different from the qualifiers. It will test not just your technology, but your spirit. I have been racing for 47 of your years. I have seen promising rookies destroyed by the pressures of championship competition. Maya looked into his large, multifaceted eyes and saw not condescension but genuine concern. Thank you for the warning, Kethfer, but I didn't come this far to give up at the first sign of real challenge. The Zentari champion's patterns shifted to what her translator indicated was amused respect. Good. It would be disappointing if the human who broke our records turned out to be fragile when it mattered most. Race day arrived with fanfare that exceeded anything in the Galaxy Racing Group's history. Over 2 billion beings across dozens of worlds were watching, drawn by the unprecedented story of the human underdog who had somehow fought her way to championship contention. Maya climbed into Phoenix's cockpit for what could be the last time. If she lost today, it would still be a victory of sorts. She had proven that humans belonged in galactic racing, had opened doors that might never close again. But she did not want to just belong. She wanted to win. Phoenix, you are cleared for launch. Good luck, Maya. The race began with a mass start. 27 ships launched simultaneously from Nexus Station. The first leg was a straightforward sprint to Kepler 442b, where the real challenges would begin. Maya settled into her racing rhythm, managing her energy carefully while staying with the lead pack. Kethfer was flying with the effortless grace that had made him a champion. Zixtal's crystalline ship caught and refracted the light of nearby stars in patterns that were almost mesmerizing. The field was incredibly competitive, positions changing constantly as pilots jockeyed for advantage. The first real test came during atmospheric entry on Kepler 4.4b. The planet's dense atmosphere and high gravity created brutal conditions that would destroy any ship not perfectly prepared. Maya watched her hull temperature readings climb as Phoenix screamed through the upper atmosphere. Her hybrid propulsion system was automatically adjusted to maintain optimal performance. The atmospheric racing section wound through canyon systems that had been carved by ancient rivers. Here, precision flying was more important than raw speed. Maya's months of simulation training showed. She threaded Phoenix through passages barely wider than her ship, using microfolds when space permitted to gain precious seconds. She emerged from the atmospheric section in third place, behind Kethver and a draconian pilot named Scarthax, whose ship seemed to dance through the air with impossible agility. The next several legs were a blur of challenge and adaptation. The ice caves of Titan 7 required flying through crystalline tunnels where a single mistake would mean death. The plasma storms around Altair Station tested every system on her ship, forcing Maya to constantly balance speed against survival. Gradually, the field began to thin. Ships that had seemed invincible in the qualifying races found themselves unable to handle the sustained pressure of championship competition. By the halfway point, only 8 racers remained in contention. Maya was in 4th place, close enough to win, but running low on energy reserves. The fold space generators were functioning perfectly, but each jump consumed power that could not be recovered during the race. She would have to choose her remaining folds carefully. The critical moment came during the 17th leg, a navigation challenge through the Helix Nebula where sensor interference made conventional navigation nearly impossible. Most pilots would have to slow down and rely on manual flying through the swirling gases and electromagnetic anomalies. Maya had a different plan. Instead of trying to navigate through the nebula, she programmed a series of calculated folds that would take her around it, using the nebula's own gravitational field to mask her energy signature from the other racers. It was risky. If her calculations were wrong, she could emerge completely off course. If the energy consumption was higher than expected, she might not have enough power for the final legs of the race. But if it worked, she would emerge from the nebula in first place with a commanding lead. Maya took a deep breath and activated. The sequence folded space 7 times in rapid succession, each jump carrying her further around the nebula's outer edge. The sensation was overwhelming, like being pulled apart and reassembled over and over again. Her vision blurred, her hands shook, but her mind remained focused on the navigation calculations. When the final fold completed, she was exactly where she had intended to be. She emerged from the nebula's far side with a clear path to the 18th checkpoint. Phoenix has just ... The race announcer's voice was filled with disbelief. Phoenix has somehow bypassed the entire Helix Nebula navigation challenge. She's emerged in first place with a lead of over 3 minutes. Maya allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before refocusing on the race. She was in the lead, but there were still 10 legs remaining, and her energy reserves were critically low. From here on, it would be conventional flying against some of the best pilots in the galaxy. Kethver and Scarthax began closing the gap during the long sprint sections, where their ship's biological and chemical propulsion systems had advantages over Phoenix's depleted hybrid drives. By the 24th checkpoint, Maya's lead had shrunk to less than 30 seconds. The final 3 legs would determine the championship. The 25th leg was another atmospheric section, this time on a high-gravity world where the dense air created tremendous resistance. Maya pushed Phoenix as hard as she dared, but Kethver's biological ship was better adapted to atmospheric flight. By the time they reached vacuum again, the Zentari champion had taken the lead. The 26th leg was a precision navigation challenge through an asteroid field where the rocks were in constant motion, influenced by the gravitational pull of a nearby neutron star. Maya's simulation training paid off here. Her ability to calculate trajectories in real time allowed her to take risks that the other pilots could not match. She regained the lead by a narrow margin, but her ship was running on fumes. The energy reserves were nearly exhausted. The engines were operating at temperatures that made her nervous. There was still 1 leg remaining. The final leg was a straight sprint to the finish line. 10 million kilometers through open space. No obstacles, no tricks, just pure speed and endurance. Maya looked at her energy readings one last time. She had power for maybe one more fold, short jump that might give her enough of an advantage to hold off Kethfer's closing rush. But as she prepared to make the jump, something made her hesitate. This race had been about proving that humans belonged among the galaxy's elite, that Earth's children could compete with species that had been perfecting their technologies for millennia.